support AT&T's installation of more than 700 large utility boxes in the public right-of-way across the city, overturning the objections of over 25 neighborhood groups who had called for an environmental review to determine the impact of the utility boxes on the city and its residents. If you'd been on the Board of Supervisors for this vote, how would you have voted and why? Senator Leland to start.
Well, not knowing the piece of legislation, I can't comment on exactly how I would vote. But let me just say that I am absolutely appalled by how a big company, AT&T, comes into San Francisco and then decide that, well, we're going to just plant these boxes in your neighborhood, and if you don't like it, that's too bad. The reality is that this is our city. And this is not a city that is up for any picking that a corporate American company decides to just simply come in and do as it will for city and county of San Francisco. So I would have said that no, you're not going to be able to do that. You can't come in and just go out there and destroy our neighborhood character. You're going to have to work with the different neighborhoods. You're going to have to work with the different communities and find a way in order to allow us to have that technology, but then not destroy our neighborhood character. Why can't you underground that? Why can't you put it somewhere else? Why can't you set up the boxes so that it's not grotesque? Those boxes came out of Texas. We're not Texas. We're beautiful San Francisco.
Thank you, Senator. And we'll be on to the same question, Mayor Ed Lee. Thank you, Mayor.
For those of you who kept close watch on this, you'll know that there were guidelines that were written by the Department of Public Works for this to happen or not happen. I actually was responsible for writing those rules. Those rules specifically specify that neighborhood associations shall have direct input on each location and can object to those locations for all of the reasons that you would want to, whether they're blocking your views or whether they create obstacles in the neighborhood for pedestrian traffic problems, community safety. Those specific guidelines were written so that AT&T would not have unfettered discretion of where they would put this. They must abide by those guidelines. And as mayor, and also as the board's, as a potential member, previously, if I were a member of the board, I would remind everybody about this, but as mayor, we will enforce those guidelines to make sure that all of you here have input on every single location that AT&T proposes. I know they have a business to do here in the city. I know that they are competing with other companies to provide internet access and all the wonderful modern things, but they have to do it in a responsible way, and that responsible way is reflected in those guidelines that we've written, and everybody here should be aware of those and should use that to your advantage.
For more than 2 years, I've been out in every single neighborhood in San Francisco listening to people in the community, and what I keep hearing loud and clear is, I feel like my voice isn't heard anymore. I raise an issue, and I've heard so much about these AT&T boxes, and I feel like no one listens. That government's job is to serve the people in the community, not to serve government itself, and not to serve large corporations. And I just feel like that's this is the whole reason people say, why would you give up your private life and go do this? And it's because I really absolutely believe we have to get back to taking care of the people in this community and listening to their voice. When people don't want something, who pay the bills because they're the residents of this community, those are the people we should be listening to first and foremost, not corporations.
Next will be answering to the same question, Bevan Dufty.
I want to say that I had a couple of conversations with Supervisor Scott Wiener, who has succeeded me on the board, and I want to acknowledge that Scott took a difficult position These hearings are quasi-judicial in nature, and so I'm not going to comment too far down the road, not having seen the briefs and presentations on both sides. But I do know that Scott and other members of the board, along the line of what Mayor Lee said, negotiated to try and make sure that were these boxes introduced, that there would be a lot of neighborhood input and that there would be counterbalancing plantings and other things that would mitigate it. But let me tell you, when you talk about big business, I pay $180 a month just so my house isn't pandemonium when my kid wants to watch Phineas and Ferb or something on the Disney Channel. And so I think there's room for competition in this town. And if you talk about installations, let's talk about the refrigerators that T-Mobile hangs up on poles around this city and how frustrating it is that we've been precluded from having more of a voice in some of these. So I would say to you, I think competition is good for our city and for other neighborhoods, and I do appreciate that. I think that there is a process in place that hopefully can do the best possible in mitigating these. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be very direct about the answer on this. The installation of these AT&T boxes without an EIR is criminal. It's the essence of systemic corruption, which is the number one element in my platform. Now, there's been a couple of slams against Ed Lee here tonight, and I say, Ed, as an old friend, I welcome you into this race because I'm going to match my 30 years of administrative experience against your 18, especially when it comes to things like no-bid contracts, because that's what you have here. This situation with these boxes is not vetted in the public arena. It should undergo scrutiny, and there are different ways to go about solving this same problem. I want to thank, again, Ed Lee for coming here tonight. There's a couple things we're going to differ on. I think I'm going to be the only candidate up here who takes the position that the pension reform deal that we struck with the unions is going to cost San Francisco over $4 billion in the next 6 years. We'll talk about that later.
Thank you. This next question we'll put to Supervisor Joan, Avalos, Dennis Herrera, Michela, Alioto-Pier,